What's up everyone, it's Kelly and today I've got another swatch review for you. Today we're talking about the OPI Terribly Nice collection for holiday 2023. And I know what you're thinking to yourself, Kelly, it's not even Halloween yet. It is too soon for a holiday collection. I totally get it, I feel the same way, but they did come out with the collection and I like to review things as soon as possible just to give you guys enough time to decide if you're interested in it and, you know, to make your purchases without feeling like you have to grab everything ASAP. Before we get into it, if you haven't heard of OPI before, I would honestly be very surprised. I would argue that they are one of the most popular nail polish brands in the world, but they are a mainstream nail polish brand. They're available internationally, and their polishes are big 3 free, meaning they are free of formaldehyde, toluene, and DBP. So we actually have 14 new nail polishes in this collection, which I found very interesting because they usually do 12 polish collections, and sometimes they'll do a bonus 3 polishes, making it 15, but I don't think I've seen 14 polishes before. And I also have to say, I'm very surprised at the finishes of these polishes, but I don't want to spoil anything, so let's just jump into the review. Then we talk a little bit more about my thoughts on them, pricing, availability, where you can buy them, all that good stuff. So roll the swatch footage. So as with all of my swatch and review videos, I am using base coat underneath all of my swatches just to protect my natural nail and prevent any stains. Today I'm using the Orly Bonder base coat. So we'll start off with this first shade, Salty Sweet Nothings, and this is a really interesting one. The base I would consider to be sort of a rose gold color, and then it is absolutely packed with these white flecks that have such a high reflective shine that it just looks so beautiful and sparkly on the nails. I actually loved the way that it looked in one coat, but I ended up actually loving it no matter how many coats I did. I ended up with 3, but I would totally wear this as a 1-coater or a 2-coater as well, just depending on how much coverage you want and how much visible nail line you want. But this is such a beautiful shade to me. It definitely feels like a perfect holiday shade. It's got that elegance to it, but it's also so bright and fun, especially with those glitters in there. And it also kind of gives me a little bit of a bridal vibe. And I was really impressed because once I hit that 3 coat, you really couldn't see the visible nail line anymore. So even though it's the same color as my skin tone, it did give me full coverage. So I really loved it. It's such a beautiful shade. I'm definitely going to be reaching for this one a lot. Next up, we have the shade It's a Wonderful Spice. And this is an interesting formula that we see a few times in this collection. The base color is more of a salmon shade, but I found that it looked a lot darker on me, and I think that's just because I'm so pale, but just keep in mind it might look a little bit lighter on you. But within that salmony base color, we actually have a few different colors of metallic flakies in there, most notably that silvery white kind of color, but then we also get a coppery shade in there, so it almost gives this heathered look, which I think is really interesting. I honestly think this color works really well for autumn, so this is the type of finish, I don't know, there's something very autumnal about this finish. Maybe it's just that irregular flaky shape reminds me of falling leaves, but either way, the formula was really great and it gave me perfect coverage in 2 coats. Now the next few shades are all very classic OPI shades, and this first one is Rebel with a Claws, and this is a gorgeous vibrant red cream shade that actually gave me full coverage in the first coat. I did end up doing 2 coats just to show you what it looked like, but it actually covered everything in that first coat, which I found to be very impressive, but I'm also not surprised because I feel like OPI is the brand for the perfect red nail polish. But I really enjoyed this one. It has a very slight blue undertone to it, which to me gives it that more wintry holiday kind of feel, but it's also the kind of color you could wear anytime. Next up, we have the shade Blame the Mistletoe, and this one is a hot pink shimmer. So you can see the base pink is a little bit more of a reddish tone. It's a little bit warmer, but then the shimmer within it is on the cooler, almost fuchsia kind of side. And again, this one did give me full coverage in the first coat, but I ended up doing a second just to show you. And this is the kind of shimmer that even if you don't apply your brush strokes very carefully, it's not going to be streaky on your nails. It smooths out really nicely. So if you're not a fan of brush stroke finish on a shimmer, this is a great polish for you. And then we have the shade Sickeningly Sweet, and this one is a soft lavender cream shade. And this is another type of shade I feel like OPI does a lot, and I always really enjoy it. I actually really love when they do lighter colors because I feel like for the most part, they are incredibly opaque. When I look at a color like this, I almost expect it to be 3 coats even on my short nails, but this one gave me perfect coverage in 2. It was really opaque, and as you can see, it's just very smooth and creamy and self-leveling, just very easy to use. So it's not difficult and chalky like some of those lighter polishes can be. And then we have the shade Put on Something Ice, and this is a shimmery glitter topper. So we've got this iridescent blue to purple shimmer, and then we have these larger iridescent glitters, and then possibly some hollow silver glitters as well. It's honestly hard to tell if they're metallic or if they are holographic, just because that iridescent shimmer looks very similar, so it's hard to tell. But I will say, I feel like OPI makes this polish like every single year. I have so many of this exact same color from them, so not a huge fan of seeing it again, but I always think it's a pretty polish. Then we have the shade Shaking My Sugarplums, and this one is a really beautiful shade. It almost feels like a wintry, dusky sky to me, because we have this gorgeous soft blue base color, and then we have this iridescent shimmer running throughout that head-on looks like a purple, but around the edges you get a little bit of like a pink into orange into yellow, and I don't know, there's just something very mystical and pretty about it. It feels very wintry. I found that this one was a little bit more sheer, so at first I applied 2 coats. I think it looked decent, but you could still see through my nail and you could see the visible nail line. So I ended up applying a 3rd coat, and I think that gave me really nice coverage, but I wasn't a huge fan of having to do 3 coats for this polish, just because, again, this is a shade that I do feel like OPI makes a lot, and I'm pretty sure I have more opaque versions of it. But that being said, it's still really pretty. Moving on, we have the shade Let's Scrooge. Oh my gosh, I just understood that one. Okay, so this one is a really stunning, cool toned forest green base, and it is absolutely packed with this teeny tiny blue iridescent fleck, which, oh my gosh, what a stunning color. I love that combination. I love a very cool toned green that almost leans a little bit blue, and I think the addition of that fleck in there just adds so much. It feels so perfect for winter, but I'm definitely gonna wear this in the fall as well. And again, perfect coverage in 2 coats. And then we have another green, which I was so pleased to see. This one is called Peppermint Bark and Bite, and it's basically this very, very deep, almost black green base that has a little bit of a jelly-like consistency. And then within that, we have these teeny tiny silvery micro glitters that when they're mixed with that jelly base, they almost look like a green sparkle on the nails. And I love this shade. It's so deep and vampy. I love that it looks black in low lighting, but when the light hits it, you get that green and the sparkle, and it just feels very beautiful for this season. But again, it also feels like a good autumn color. And I also got perfect coverage in 2 coats. Next, we have the shade Hot and Cold, and when I first applied this one, I liked it, but now looking at it, I'm kind of not sure how I feel, so I'm curious to hear what you guys think of it. But this is basically the black version of Pineapples Have Peelings Too. So we've got this shimmery black jelly base, and then it is packed with a bunch of different types of glitter. So we've got these small pale pink metallic glitters. We've got, I believe, some holographic glitters in there as well. We've got blue, we've got yellow and green metallic glitters, and then we also have an iridescent mini glitter running throughout. So at first I applied 2 coats. It was still a little bit light on my nails, but you could see the glitters in there pretty nicely. When I put on a 3rd coat, it got more full coverage, but I did find that it looked a little bit more lumpy. So yeah, I don't know. I think that shimmer in the base makes it look too lumpy for me. I think it would have been better if it was more of just like a regular cream jelly kind of vibe. So I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the creativity, but I don't think this one is for me. But this next shade I immediately fell in love with. It's called Hot Toddy Naughty, and oh my gosh, what a stunning shade. This is a really beautiful deep brown shimmer, and again, it just has this incredible easy smooth formula, and even though it goes on a little bit streaky, it dries without that brush stroke. So if you're not a fan of brush strokey shimmery nails, this is another perfect one. But the color itself is just so stunning. It feels like a perfect any time of year color, but I love a brown like this in the autumn because I don't know, there's just something very fall about it, but I can also see myself wearing this all winter. It's just really stunning, and I just love that slight warmth that it has. Then we have the shade 5 Golden Flings, and this one I have a feeling people are either going to love it or hate it. Personally, I actually really enjoyed this one. It's almost like this gingerbread color. So we've got this yellowy brown jelly base, and then it's packed with those metallic flecks. So we've got the silvery white metallic flecks, and then we also have copper, which again, it gives it this sort of heathered look, which I think is so interesting. It definitely looks like a cookie with a lot of fun spices in it, so that's why it's making me think gingerbread, and I just think it's a really beautiful color in general. It's probably not the best for my skin tone, but I'm still definitely gonna wear it because I think it's really pretty. And then we have the shade Yay or Neigh, which is basically the silvery version of 5 Golden Flings. So this time we've got a medium gray jelly base, and again we have that whitish silver metallic flake as well as the coppery metallic flake. And I thought that this one was gonna need 3 coats for full coverage, but it did give me perfect coverage in 2. If you have longer nails, you might need a 3rd for both of these, but again, it gives this really cool heathered look. I don't know, there's just something very cool about this one. I've actually already worn it because for some reason it's giving me a little bit of a Halloween vibe with the color scheme, but again, I just feel like it's going to be a good color that I can wear for a lot of the year, and I just think it's really interesting to look at. And then the final shade in the collection is Chill 'em with Kindness, and this one is a snowy white polish. It's a little bit sheer, and it is absolutely packed with iridescent shimmer that for the most part leans from like a blue into purple into pink, and I actually think this one is really pretty. It's nice and buildable. I like the way that it looks in 2 coats, even though it is still slightly sheer. You can still get a very soft look at my visible nail line, but I don't know, there's something just very wintry and dreamy about it. But if you want full coverage, you can do more coats. I ended up getting full coverage in 3, and I just think it's a really pretty shade. It also feels like it would be a good bridal shade, but it does feel like a very good wintry color. So here are all of the polishes together, and we have a really interesting mix going on here. Of course, there are some of the classic shades, but then we also have some finishes that I really never would have expected to see from OPI, especially with those flakies. I just think they're really interesting and different, and I'm really just impressed to see them leaning into these colors that aren't necessarily mainstream. I feel like in the past, OPI has really done a lot of like reds and golds for the holiday, and they still gave us a little bit of that, but being able to have 2 greens in a mainstream collection for the holidays is amazing. I think that those flaky, heathered looking polishes are really interesting, and I just like to see them kind of step outside the box. Even when I don't like a color on me, I still felt like the formula was really nice, so I like to see them kind of explore their creativity with that. But yeah, let's talk about it a little bit more. So those are the polishes, and overall I'm really into them. I would say in general, OPI is just a very classic, dependable brand for me, and for the most part I am very into their collections. Every once in a while there are a few polishes that pop up that I just don't love the formula of, but generally speaking I feel like they are very reliably good. The polish is definitely one of the thinner brands that I've used, but I find it's very beginner friendly just because it's extremely self-leveling, so you don't have to put too much on your brush and it levels out really nicely even if you're a bit sloppy. And also OPI is the first non-drugstore nail polish brand that I used, so I always feel like it's definitely one of the big reasons I got into nail polish, so it's got a special place in my heart, but I do think it's very beginner friendly. But yeah, I gotta say, I was really impressed with their last collection, the Zodiac collection, because I felt like they came up with a lot of colors, color combinations, and formulas that felt very distinctly indie style, and I found that happening again with this collection, which I was very excited to see, especially those funky, flaky, metallic kind of polishes. I just feel like that's so interesting, and it's definitely not something I would have expected to see from a mainstream brand, especially one like OPI a few years ago, but now just seeing them consistently coming up with these almost indie style colors and collections just feels really fun. So I love that they're kind of stepping outside of what they normally do and trying these different finishes. I think it just feels very accessible to a lot of people. But yeah, overall, I loved the collection. I loved the colors. I think they're perfect for the holidays, and I feel like I'm still going to be wearing a lot of these leading up to the holiday months, just because I also think that a lot of these are good classic any time of year colors, and there's also a few that I think work for fall. I actually recently wore Yay or Neigh, and I loved it. It felt very Halloween-y to me in the moment, but I'm sure I'll wear it again in December and think it's very holiday-ish. But if you didn't know, I actually do post short videos here on YouTube where you can see the manicures that I wear week to week, and you can see the polishes and different lightings and stuff. So if you're interested in that, I have a a whole playlist of them, but you will be seeing Yay or Neigh in one of those videos coming up soon. But yeah, like I said, I think this collection is a win. I enjoy OPI. I think they have good quality products, and I think this collection is no exception. So now let's talk about pricing and availability. These polishes are available wherever OPI is sold. I get mine from Beyond Polish, which is a nail polish retailer, and there the 15 milliliter bottles retail for $8.80 USD each. And I also have a discount code, so you can use the code KELLI to get 10% off your order there. Beyond Polish also sells a lot of other brands I review, and they also have a couple of indie brands, including KB Shimmer, so definitely recommend checking them out. I will link them down below as well as my discount code. But yeah, that is it for my thoughts. I'm curious to hear what you think. What do you think of these polishes? What do you think of the color story? What do you think of coming out with holiday colors already? Let me know in the comments. We can chat about it. If you enjoy my swatch and review videos, please give this one a thumbs up. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. I put out new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And of course, a huge shout out to my supporters on Patreon, my royal astronomer Amanda M, as well as my cosmic admirals Rocket Man's daughter Paula, Ken, and Rosie. I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye. So for my fun fact today, I actually want to make a small complaint that I feel like a lot of companies this year are just completely bypassing Halloween. Not talking about OPI specifically, but I actually went at the end of September to go Halloween shopping, and there was already all the Christmas stuff out. And I know that when it comes to like nail polish brands, especially international brands like this, they need time to send stuff out to like the different countries and get it all available. So I understand why mainstream brands tend to come out with their nail polish collections a season early, but I feel like I've never realized how early other companies do things. Like I just feel like in the stores now, all of the Halloween stuff is already completely gone and all of the Christmas stuff is out. But then if you go to the store to buy Christmassy stuff in November, it's already completely gone because people are buying it in September. I hate seeing it in stores because I feel like every year it just gets earlier and earlier that you're expected to have everything ready. And I like to enjoy my holidays in the month that the holiday is. So I don't really get like excited to shop for certain seasons. Like when I went to stores in July, they had Halloween stuff and I was not ready for that yet. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.